Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie have been inseparable for decades. From early childhood up until the official announcement of becoming royal mums, they have endured a huge deal of media coverage and heartbreaking revelations throughout their lives.
Two princesses born into one of the most privileged families on earth, yet forced to navigate public humiliation, health battles, relentless public scrutiny, and the long shadow of their father's scandals while quietly building independent lives most royals could never imagine. Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie have always been portrayed as the glamorous, hat-wearing York sisters who stayed above the fray, charming, stylish, and close-knit. But the untold truth is far more complicated, far more resilient than the glossy royal narrative suggests. This is the real, never-before fully told story of Princess Eugenie and Princess Beatrice, the untold truth behind the titles. Growing up in the shadow of a broken marriage. It all began in London, where Princess Beatrice was born in 1988, followed 2 years later by her younger sister, Princess Eugenie, in 1990. On paper, their lives looked perfect: royal titles, famous parents, and a place in one of the most powerful families in the world. But almost from the start, their childhood was shaped by tension that most children never have to face. Their parents, Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, were already struggling in their marriage. By 1992, when Beatrice was just 4 and Eugenie only 2, the couple separated. For most families, that would be a private matter. But this was different. Every step of their breakup became public news. Headlines didn't just report facts. They told stories, added opinions, and sometimes made things sound worse than they were. For two young girls, that meant growing up in a world where their family life was constantly being discussed by strangers. Things didn't calm down after the separation. If anything, the attention grew stronger. Stories about their parents filled newspapers, especially moments that were seen as embarrassing or controversial. Sarah Ferguson, in particular, became the center of intense media focus during the early 1990s. At the same time, Prince Andrew's personal life was also being closely watched. Even if the girls didn't fully understand everything at that age, they could feel the pressure. Imagine hearing people talk about your parents everywhere you go. At school, on TV, even in casual conversations. That kind of environment forces you to grow up quickly. In 1996, the divorce was finalized. By then, Beatrice was 8 and Eugenie was 6, old enough to understand that their family had changed. But what didn't change was how visible their lives were. Despite everything, both parents made a strong effort to stay present. The sisters split their time between homes like Royal Lodge, and their upbringing, while unusual, was carefully managed to give them as much stability as possible. One decision during this time quietly shaped how the public would see them for years. Their father insisted that both daughters keep the title Her Royal Highness. This wasn't guaranteed. Queen Elizabeth II had reservations about giving such titles to royals who were not direct heirs and were unlikely to take on full-time royal duties. But Andrew pushed for it, and the decision stood. As a result, Beatrice and Eugenie became some of the only modern princesses to carry HR, without being in the direct line of succession. At first, that might sound like a small detail, but it changed everything. The titles made them more visible, more talked about, and more expected to represent something, even though their roles were never clearly defined. They were royal enough to be watched, but not central enough to be guided in the same way as their cousins. As they grew older, that gap became more obvious. The media often compared them to Prince William and Prince Harry, who were closer to the throne and already being prepared for major responsibilities. Beatrice and Eugenie, on the other hand, were left in a space that felt uncertain. There was a tension, but no clear direction. And when there's no clear role, people start focusing on other things. That's when the scrutiny shifted. Instead of achievements, the focus turned to appearance, behavior, and lifestyle. What they wore, how they looked, how they acted in public, everything became a topic of discussion. Even as teenagers, they were already being judged in ways that had nothing to do with who they were as individuals. For Beatrice, being the older sister often meant facing the strongest criticism first. For Eugenie, it meant growing up watching those reactions and knowing she would face them too. By the time Eugenie reached the age of 12, she was already aware of the constant comparisons, not just between her and Beatrice, but between them and their cousins. That kind of awareness doesn't come naturally at that age. It comes from being exposed to pressure over and over again. It shapes how you think, how you act, and sometimes how confident you feel. But while the outside world focused on differences, something important was happening between the two sisters. They were becoming each other's support system. Beatrice, more reserved and steady, often balanced Eugenie's more expressive and outgoing personality. They understood each other in a way no one else could, because they were going through the same experience at the same time. Their childhood wasn't simple, and it definitely wasn't private. It was shaped by divorce, constant attention, and expectations that were never clearly explained. But it also built something stronger, an ability to handle pressure early and a bond that would carry them through everything that came next. Eugenie's hidden health battle. At just 12 years old, Princess Eugenie faced something few children ever have to: a serious health diagnosis. She was found to have severe scoliosis, a condition where the spine curves in a way that can cause pain and posture problems. For Eugenie, the curvature was more than 10 degrees, enough that doctors said she would need surgery to correct it. In 2002, she underwent an 8-hour operation at the Royal National Orthopedic Hospital. The procedure was intense. Surgeons placed 2 8-inch titanium rods along each side of her spine and secured them with 1.5-inch screws at the top of her neck. It was a delicate process, requiring precision and skill to ensure the rods could support her growing body. While the surgery itself was successful, the recovery that followed was grueling. Immediately after the operation, Eugenie spent 3 days in intensive care, followed by a week on the hospital ward. She was confined to a wheelchair for 6 days, unable to move freely or do simple things for herself. For a young girl who had always been active and independent, it was an incredibly difficult adjustment. She later explained in interviews that she couldn't get out of bed or do anything for myself. It wasn't just physically challenging, it was emotionally overwhelming too. Eugenie couldn't go back to school right away after she left the hospital. It took her 4 months to get better enough to go back to class. A private tutor came to her house during that period to help her stay up with her schoolwork. She kept going, even if minor activities seemed impossible. She progressively got stronger and more mobile. The scar on her back was one of the most obvious signs of what she had been through. Eugenie was embarrassed by it at first. It wasn't easy for a preteen to accept such a big mark in a culture that typically assesses people by how they look. But her mother, Sarah Ferguson, told her to look at it in a different way. Sarah helped Eugenie realize that her scar was not something to be ashamed of, but a sign of strength, courage, and survival. Eugenie's feelings about her scar changed throughout time. She took a brave choice by wearing a low-back dress that showed off the mark as she was planning her wedding in 2018. That moment was more than just a fashion choice. It was a message. Eugenie turned a portion of her narrative that had formerly made her feel ashamed into a source of pride in front of the whole world. For a lot of people with scoliosis, it was encouraging and inspiring to see a princess show off her scar. Eugenie hasn't simply accepted herself, she's also used her experience to help other people. She has been an ambassador for scoliosis awareness, speaking out about how important it is to find out about it early and giving money to charities that help people with spinal disorders. Her tale shows that something very personal and hard can be turned into a message of hope and resilience. Eugenie changed in ways that went well beyond her being better physically. It taught her how to be patient, strong, and determined. She learned how to deal with fear and pain without letting them control her. And through it all, her family, her mother, father, and sister Beatrice stayed by her side. This made the difference between tackling the task alone and making it a shared adventure of fortitude. Eugenie's scoliosis surgery still has an effect on her life years later. Her decision to show off the scar in public, her work as an advocate, and her readiness to talk frankly about the problems she experienced all show the kind of confidence and honesty that have come to define her as an adult. She converted an experience that could have made her feel alone and hurt into something that connected, inspired, and made others see her. What started as a secret health fight when Eugenie was 12 years old turned out to be a defining moment in her life. She became stronger physically and mentally at that time, which helped her deal with not only medical problems, but also the stress of being a princess, being in the public eye, and growing as a person. Her tale teaches us that being brave doesn't mean having problems. It means how you deal with them, how you accept your story, and how you use your experiences to help others. Eugenie's journey through scoliosis shows that even the hardest things can make you stronger, prouder, and give you a sense of purpose. Beatrice's public humiliation to professional independence. Princess Beatrice has always been in the public eye, but one moment in 2011 made her a viral sensation for all the wrong reasons. Attending the wedding of Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, she wore a hat that quickly became infamous online. Memes circulated around the globe, jokes were made on every social platform, and suddenly, Beatrice found herself at the center of worldwide ridicule. For anyone else, that might have been humiliating enough to shake their confidence. For Beatrice, it became a turning point. Instead of retreating, she used the experience as fuel. She had always valued education, and she threw herself into her studies. Beatrice earned a BA in History of Art from Goldsmiths, University of London, immersing herself in creative expression while developing analytical skills. Beyond the classroom, she sought hands-on experience, interning at places like Sony Pictures and the Foreign Office. These experiences exposed her to real-world challenges and allowed her to carve out a sense of purpose far beyond the royal spotlight. By 2016, she had stepped fully into the professional world. Joining Affinity, an AI software firm, as Vice President of Strategic Partnerships, Beatrice demonstrated a keen mind for business and technology. Over nearly a decade, she rose to the position of strategic advisor, showing that her talents were not only real, but also respected in serious corporate spaces. Alongside her corporate career, she embraced philanthropy. She co-founded the Big Change charity, dedicated to helping young people build skills, confidence, and opportunities for the future. Her involvement in initiatives like this reflected her commitment to using her position to make a tangible difference in the lives of others. Beatrice's career path was never meant to follow a traditional royal script. She intentionally pursued work that challenged her, that allowed her to stand on her own, and that created a balance between public duties and personal growth. Even as she built professional credibility, she kept her private life intentionally guarded, learning how to navigate media attention without losing control of her narrative. In 2020, another milestone arrived: her engagement to Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi, a property developer with noble Italian ancestry. Unlike some royal weddings that attract massive crowds and headlines, Beatrice's ceremony was quiet and intimate, reflecting her desire to keep her family life personal. That same focus carried into motherhood. In 2021, she and Edoardo welcomed their son, August, and 2 years later, in 2023, their daughter Athena arrived, born prematurely. Beatrice has since navigated the demands of parenthood alongside a dynamic career, consciously balancing her professional ambitions with her responsibilities as a mother. Looking back, Beatrice's early public image was defined by a moment of embarrassment, yet that moment never defined her. She faced criticism head-on, turning scrutiny into motivation. Each step she took, her education, internships, corporate leadership roles, and charity work, was part of a deliberate effort to define herself on her own terms. She showed that resilience isn't about avoiding mistakes or ridicule. It's about responding with determination, growth, and vision. Even as she balances corporate responsibilities, family life, and charitable initiatives, Beatrice remains grounded in her values. Her story demonstrates that independence doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet, working behind the scenes, making decisions carefully, and building a life that reflects personal priorities rather than public expectation. Her professional and personal journey shows that strength often grows out of challenge, criticism, and persistence. Through it all, her relationship with her sister, Eugenie, has remained a source of support. While Eugenie faced public scrutiny of a different kind, Beatrice's achievements in education and career demonstrate another way to navigate life in the royal spotlight, with intelligence, focus, and measured courage. Together, the sisters exemplify resilience, showing that royalty doesn't have to mean perfection. It can mean determination, authenticity, and the courage to forge your own path. Eugenie's independent life. Princess Eugenie always had a creative spark, one that guided her toward the art world. After finishing her early education, she chose Newcastle University, where she studied art history and English literature. For Eugenie, this wasn't just about academics. It was a way to explore her own interests outside the royal spotlight. While others focused on titles and appearances, she immersed herself in stories, ideas, and visual expression, laying the groundwork for a career that would combine passion and purpose. In 2015, Eugenie began her professional journey at Hauser & Wirth, one of the most respected contemporary art galleries in the world. She joined as a director, a role that required both artistic vision and managerial skill. By 2026, she still held that position, guiding exhibitions, supporting artists, and helping bring new ideas into the public eye. For Eugenie, this work represents more than just a job. It's a space where creativity, influence, and independence intersect. Her professional life ran parallel to personal milestones. In 2018, she became engaged to Jack Brooksbank, a wine merchant who shared her love for culture and adventure. Their wedding, held at St. George's Chapel, the same venue as her cousin William's wedding just months earlier, was intimate but highly symbolic. Eugenie chose a low-back gown that revealed the scar from her scoliosis surgery, turning what had once been a source of embarrassment into a statement of strength and resilience. That dress wasn't just fabric and lace. It was a message. You can embrace your story, your struggles, and your triumphs, all while celebrating life's happiest moments. Motherhood brought new dimensions to Eugenie's life. In 2022, she and Jack welcomed their first son, August Philip Hawke Brooksbank. A year later, their second son, Ernest George Ronnie Brooksbank, was born. Raising two children while maintaining a demanding career is no small task, but Eugenie has approached it with the same thoughtful determination she brings to every part of her life. She balances parenting, professional responsibilities, and public appearances with a sense of calm and purpose, creating a family environment that is both private and loving. Beyond her family and career, Eugenie has worked tirelessly to make a difference in the world. In 2017, she co-founded the Anti-Slavery Collective, an organization dedicated to raising awareness about modern slavery and human trafficking. Using her platform, she has helped shine a light on issues that are often hidden from public view. Whether visiting affected communities, supporting initiatives, or speaking publicly, Eugenie demonstrates that influence isn't just about being seen. It's about taking action and giving voice to those who need it most. Eugenie's life shows a different kind of royal story, one shaped not only by titles and appearances, but by personal choices, resilience, and purpose. Her path through the art world, her marriage, and her advocacy work all reflect a woman who is not defined solely by her family name, but by the impact she creates and the way she chooses to live authentically. What makes Eugenie's journey particularly compelling is the way it intertwines with her sister Beatrice's story. While Beatrice has navigated public humiliation and built professional independence, Eugenie has embraced creativity, advocacy, and family life, showing that there are many ways to thrive in a world that constantly watches. Their lives, though different in approach, are united by a shared understanding of resilience, privacy, and the importance of supporting one another. And yet, even as Eugenie's personal and professional life flourished, the sisters remained vigilant, about the pressures of royalty. They have learned to navigate public attention carefully, making deliberate choices to protect their family and maintain control over their own narratives. These lessons of discretion, courage, and intentional living would become even more significant in the years to come, shaping decisions that balance personal fulfillment with public responsibility. By combining art, advocacy, and family, Eugenie has created a life that feels intentional and deeply personal. Her story demonstrates that challenges, past or present, do not define a person. They are only chapters in a larger narrative. Each experience, from scoliosis surgery to high-profile wedding days and the quiet joys of parenthood, contributes to a portrait of a woman who is both relatable and inspiring. As Eugenie continues to balance her art career, charitable work, and family life, it's clear that the York sisters' experiences have not only shaped their individual journeys, but also strengthened the bond between them. The lessons learned from childhood pressures, public scrutiny, and private health battles have created a foundation of resilience, loyalty, and purpose, qualities that define both Beatrice and Eugenie today. And just as Eugenie has carved her independent life in the art world and her family sphere, the sisters' choices would soon intersect with wider royal and global events, testing their strength and strategy in ways that the public has only begun to understand. What comes next is a story of calculated decisions, public attention, and a quiet but unwavering commitment to protect themselves and their families. A chapter that will reveal just how much these two women have grown, together and apart. The 2026 Epstein fallout, royal exclusion, and public backlash. For decades, the York sisters were seen as the charming, glamorous faces of a modern royal family. Beatrice, with her intelligence and career achievements, Eugenie, with her resilience and artistic drive. But in 2019, their world shifted in ways they could not control. That year, Prince Andrew gave a disastrous BBC interview about his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, sparking global outrage and reigniting public scrutiny of the family. The fallout didn't stop there. In 2022, Andrew reached an out-of-court settlement with Virginia Giuffre, a settlement that brought intense media attention to the family's past. And then came 2026, when fresh documents, including previously unreleased files from the Epstein investigation, named both Andrew and Sarah Ferguson multiple times. These files even contained family photographs and emails referencing Beatrice and Eugenie when they were children. Though the sisters were never accused of any wrongdoing, the optics were enough to put them back under the media microscope. The impact was immediate. In a move that shocked royal watchers, both sisters were excluded from the 2026 Royal Ascot Carriage Procession and the Easter Sunday service at Windsor. Palace sources confirmed that these decisions were made with King Charles III's agreement, a choice meant to shield them from heightened public attention amid ongoing scrutiny over past family trips linked to Epstein. Suddenly, the York sisters, who had long been portrayed as untouchable and glamorous, found themselves navigating a complex landscape of public perception, privacy, and dignity. Even in the midst of the storm, the sisters responded with careful strategy. Eugenie stepped down as patron of Anti-Slavery International, a move signaling sensitivity to the renewed attention and a desire to prevent controversy from overshadowing the causes she cares about. Both sisters have been described as appalled by the revelations, yet their response has been measured. Rather than publicly defending themselves or engaging in media battles, they have focused on protecting their families and maintaining the independent lives they have built. In 2026, expert commentary shows how tense things are when it comes to how people see things. Some news stories made the sisters seem deeply involved in family problems, even though they were quite young at the time and there were no direct accusations against them. The difference between the story and the truth has made things hard for the sisters, since what people think could change the truth. It serves as a reminder that in the royal sphere, public opinion can be just as important as what really happens. The crisis made it clear to Beatrice and Eugenie how hard it is to balance personal dignity with national duty. They have been put in a scenario that no child could have predicted. They are being judged for decisions their parents made decades ago while striving to live complete, independent lives. They have silently stood firm in their reaction. Both of them are still focused on their jobs, families, and charitable activities, which shows that their personal values and priorities are still strong despite the outside influences. The media's story, on the other hand, has been unending. Headlines have gone from praising their elegance, strength, and work to calling them damaged princesses. News outlets break down every appearance, absence, or statement, while social media spreads every rumor and guess. This may sound unjust to most people, but the sisters have been living with it since they were kids. This circumstance also shows how different it is to be a king in the modern world. Most people may choose how much they want to be seen and stay away from public opinion, but the York sisters are always in the spotlight. Every action is looked at, and every absence is recognized. In this kind of setting, keeping your dignity is not just a decision, it's a planned approach. Beatrice and Eugenie have learned how to use what they learned from being watched as kids, being humiliated in public, and dealing with personal problems to go through a crisis that could have been too much for less prepared people. The Secret York Pact and Independent Future. In the wake of their father's 2019 BBC interview, Beatrice and Eugenie quietly made a decision that would change the trajectory of their lives: the York Pact. According to family insiders and 2026 reporting, this was both a written and verbal agreement between the sisters, a pact to protect what mattered most to them: their children, their privacy, and their independence. It wasn't a reaction made in anger or panic, but a deliberate plan to take control of their own narratives. The pact set clear priorities. First and foremost, they committed to shielding their children from the media spotlight, refusing to let past controversies define the next generation. Both girls recognized early that the world of royalty comes with constant attention, and they were determined to ensure that their sons, August and Ernest for Eugenie, August and Athena for Beatrice, could grow up with as much normalcy as possible. Next, the sisters agreed to limit their participation in public royal events tied to their parents' scandals. This is why, in 2026, they were absent from both the Easter Sunday service at Windsor and the royal Ascot carriage procession. While some observers saw these absences as defiance, insiders described them as a protective choice, one that allowed the sisters to prioritize family and personal well-being over ceremonial appearances. The agreement also helped them with their professional and charitable lives. Eugenie quietly turned the anti-slavery collective into a global campaign to raise awareness about modern slavery and trafficking without directly linking it to the Epstein case. She may make a difference while staying private by converting her own anguish and familial scrutiny into action that matters. Beatrice, on the other hand, has looked at options that could provide her family a new start, such as moving to the United States to live a less public life while still working and doing charity work. The York Pact is so interesting because it combines strategy and emotion. It's not just about staying out of the news. It's also about taking back control in a world that has long made their decisions for them. Every choice, from not going to public events to starting new independent projects, shows a careful balancing of duty, ambition, and safety. It reveals that the sisters are not just watching their own drama unfold. They are making it happen. The agreement has also made Beatrice and Eugenie's relationship stronger. Facing outside challenges together has strengthened a bond between sisters that started in childhood and grew stronger with each obstacle, from their parents' divorce to their own health problems. That link is now both a shield and a compass, helping each sister make decisions in a world that can be harsh. The York Pact is more than just a list of regulations. It's a statement of freedom. This is a turning point for Beatrice and Eugenie, who no longer identify themselves by scandal, titles, or what other people think of them. Instead, they define themselves by their purpose, seclusion, and family. Their story has been shaped by outside forces for a long time, but now they have a tale that they control, one that puts children, personal growth, and the opportunity to make purposeful decisions for the future first. From secret surgeries to global scrutiny, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie have faced it all and come out stronger, wiser, and unstoppable. Did their choices surprise you? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Smash that like button if their story inspired you, and don't forget to subscribe for more shocking, never-before-told royal truths.